All right, good evening. My name is Bill Hayden. I'm a school board president. Let me introduce our board that we have tonight. Our vice president, Mr. Lauren Crosby, Mr. Wes Hood, Ms. Debbie New, Ms. Tracy Quinn, our superintendent of schools, Sean Bassetta, our assistant superintendent, Mr. Chris Clancy, our school business leader, Mr. Nick Panuccio, and then we'll have some folks here that are doing presentations. So if I could please get you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening. Board members, I would have you guys unmute so that we can go through this tonight. Routine matters. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of school, the board does hereby approve the following routine matters. Minutes from the June 9th, 2020. The CSE recommendations that are in your packet. Budget transfers. Treasurer's report from March 2020, April 2020. And the extracurricular treasurer's report, March 2020. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Any discussion, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Our next part of the agenda here is a special recognition. I will turn this over to our superintendent, Mr. Sean Bassetta.
Okay, thank you. This is obviously a bittersweet thing for us to do for several reasons. One, it's bittersweet because we know that we have a number of employees who've been with us in most cases for many, many, many years. We appreciate all of the things that they've done for our school and for our students. We're happy for them in that we know that they're heading off to retirement where they'll have more time to do the things that make them happy. So again, always a bittersweet event, certainly not the way we'd like to do it, and that we'd like to do this in person. So I would say to everybody, we do plan on doing this in a more proper way at some point when the circumstances allow us to. But we definitely wanted to acknowledge them as we're heading into the last meeting in June to thank these individuals for their contributions to the Canastota School District. So tonight, we're celebrating the careers of 12 individuals who dedicated their careers to Canastota and the students of our district. We're going to read their names and display their picture and the dates of service to the district. Each retiree will also be receiving a plaque. Again, usually we would be handing this to them and taking pictures. But we're still going to make sure that we get them the plaque. And then, as I stated earlier, at a later date, when we're able to hold a reception in person, we fully intend to do that. I want to point out a couple of facts about this group. Again, it's 12 people. These 12 individuals represent a combined 306 years of service to the Canastota School District. 306 years of experience. So I think of the number of interactions with our students, the number of things that they've done for our school. It's an average of 25 and a half years of service projected over those 12 individuals. So people who are deeply entrenched in our district and made tremendous contributions. So at this point, we're going to start rolling through and show you their picture and acknowledge them. Our first retiree is Mr. Joe Lasnicki, who's served the district for 29 years as a technology education teacher. With 20 years of service to the district. We have Gert Young, who served the district for 20 years as a school bus driver. With 30 years of service as a bus driver, Jill McNichol. "36 years of service to Canastota as a bus driver, Sue Edmonds. "32 years of service as a school bus driver, Donna Heinz. Also with 32 years of service as a bus driver, Janelle McCullough. "23 years of service as an office assistant, Sue Budlong. "30 years of service as a school monitor and bus aide, Janet Kuhn. With 24 years of service in the maintenance department, Pat Mitchell. "22 years of service as a school custodian, Sam Bruno. With 11 years of service as a teacher aide, Deb Bennett. And with 17 years of service in the food service department, Pat Pluff. So again, congratulations to all 12 of our retirees this year. We certainly wish them well. I have a request from Mr. Sam Bruno. He has a letter that he's asked me to read that he addressed to myself and to the Board of Education. So I'm going to read Sam's letter at this point. Sam says, "I would like to take this time to let you all know how wonderful and rewarding my 22 years at the Canastota Central School District was to me. My memories will never be forgotten. I was custodian at Southside Elementary, Peterborough Elementary, at the middle school and high school, and every teacher and child that I came in contact with were very special to me. Now all that I have are a lot of memories to remember. I wasn't ready to retire, but under circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and my health conditions, my family thought that it would be to my best interest and health. I will miss everyone every day, especially our students, teachers, co-workers, and our entire school community. Canastota Village is a great place to be a part of for my 22 plus years. Thank you, and I'll miss you." Signed, Sam Bruno. Sam, again, thank you for those words. I would say the next Diet Orange Soda is on me. Sam, I'll catch up with you. So I think that's, maybe we should have Sam have the last word on that. I think Sam's feelings represent a lot of our retirees, and that 306 years of combined service is incredible service to the district. We wish them all well and look forward to being able to get together in person when circumstances allow us to. Thanks to all of them. Congratulations.
Yeah, as Sean says, we would sure like to be able there to shake or hug or everybody who went through there, because it's funny because this class of retirees seem to have touched just about everybody, in my family. So I would thank them all for all their service.
I would just like to say that being in person is wonderful, but the fact that whoever created that video is outstanding, and the fact that that can be on the website as part of this is, I think, just outstanding. And I think it's a great tribute to, as you say, to all of these people, and the fact that, you know what, we owe them a big thanks. But I love the fact that it's there. It's not the same as being in person, but it's something that everybody can view. And I thank whoever did it and whoever came up with the idea.
Well, I'm not capable of creating something like that. So we will give credit to Chris and Tammy. They did a great job in pulling it together.
Outstanding job from beginning to end.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to move on here. The next presentation we have is our capital project on our turf update. I'm not sure who the ringleader is on this.
I'll introduce King and King. He's going to be the ringleader on this, and so we'll turn it over to him, and he can give us the update.
I don't know. Well, thanks, Sean. I don't know if ringleader is quite a favorable term for all of us.
It is, Frank. It's okay.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, yes, thank you very much. And again, as Sean said, my name's Frank Walczak with King and King Architects. Know many of you and talked with many of you prior. Just briefly, part of the process for the project was meeting with various groups with the district and various stakeholders that would play a part in shaping the project overall. One of those initial groups would have been was actually physical education athletics, and that then broke down to smaller turf team or turf committee group, and that's what we're here to kind of discuss tonight. So rather than me going on about that, I'm going to introduce Bernie Martin along with King and King. Bernie's with Appel Osborne, our landscape architect, and he and Tim Bonaparte from Appel played a key role in working with the team, and along with Stan, who's going to speak a little bit, I think, here tonight as well. But I'm going to hand it over to who's it going to first, Stan or Bernie, whomever's up next. We'll hand it off to you guys, and you can talk and speak about the turf stuff.
All right, yeah. Thanks, Frank. I'm glad you didn't go too long because you already stole some of my thunder a little bit, so I'm glad here.
I didn't say too much.
Yeah, I know. First of all, the Board of Education, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to talk a little bit and give you an update. We've actually been working on this for about a half a year, so we're excited to talk to you a little bit about it, even show you a little preview of some of the stuff that we came up with later. So, we passed the capital project in December, the vote, and really since January, that's when we started meeting. So our first meeting, as Frank said, had a large group of stakeholders, teachers, coaches, administrators. And that first initial meeting was really to discuss a lot of our needs, our wants, ideas, what to touch on our stadium field or track and what not to touch. So we got a lot of those ideas on the table there. From that meeting, we narrowed our group down to, actually, we had a turf committee team. So we narrowed it down. In the next several months, we met quite a bit to give us knowledge about turf insulation, but to ask questions. So during those meetings with our turf team, we talked about the types of turf, padding versus non-padding, what types of padding, maintenance and drainage, layouts, graphics of fields. You name it, they were there to answer questions, to give us information. They would give us samples of different turf. So after we felt like we had a pretty familiar knowledge of the turf, they invited some vendors to come in to speak with us. And then in May, they put on 3 presentations about different turf types. All 3 of them did a great job. We found things we liked in all 3 of them. But this meeting was great because we could ask specific questions, whether it was about safety, maintenance, to each one of those vendors. So it allowed us not only for them to sell, their turf, but allowed us to ask specific questions. Once we met with them, and come June 1st, we went and we visited turf stadiums across central New York. So we got a representation of what we learned from our consultants, what we learned from the vendors that were presenting to us. And we went around and visited the stadiums. The great thing about this is we had a chance to talk to facility managers. We had a chance to talk to grounds crew people, ask them questions about the turf. So we were able to view those, feel the difference during this time when, I was one of the ones that said I could never really tell the difference of turf because maybe we're only on it every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks or whatever. Once we got the knowledge from our consultants and the vendors, and we visited these different stadiums, I could see the difference in some of them. So that was neat. They actually, and before this experience, every time I stepped on turf, I just thought it was the same, to be honest with you. I can't thank Tim, Frank, Bernie enough. They've been asking every question we had. They've been there for us. There's a lot of times with graphics of the stadium. Bernie, thank you. I know we may have sounded like a pain. We're trying to get everything right, do what we can, but going back and forth to him. But they've really given us a vast knowledge of turf. So Bernie has the exciting part. He's going to talk to you a little bit more, and he's actually going to display it. What we've come up with, we think we have something the community's going to be very proud of, and definitely something that I think our students are going to be proud of. And we hope you like what he has. It's not just the turf stadium, but we really got a cool idea for a jumping area. We already feel we had a great track as it is, and now we're adding a little bit to our field events. So he's going to present some of that for you.
All right, great summary, Stan. It was great working with you guys as well. Turf vendors that we did have interviews with were Field Turf, AstroTurf, and A-Turf. As Stan mentioned, they visited a bunch of the local school districts that have these turf fields installed. We're looking to have a field with fibers about 2¼ to 2½ inches based on the sports that we'll be playing on the field. Football, soccer, field hockey, with the possibility of lacrosse in the future or for tournaments. We are looking to have 3 individual specs to be bid out for the project. That's what we've found it brings in the most competitive bids at bid time. So we'll be bidding out the Field Turf Vertex Prime, Astro Ionic Root Zone, and the A-Turf Titan RS. We also have an alternate for the shock pad below the turf as well, as Stan mentioned. All these turfs carry a 12-year warranty from the date of substantial completion of the installation. In addition to the new synthetic turf track or field, we'll be resurfacing the track, which I'll be showing you the option here shortly. Yes, we put together a bunch of layout options, and those are actually the most fun thing to do, in my opinion, because you can kind of put together all the different color options and kind of see what goes good together. And in the end, we kind of, as a committee, determined that we liked the following option that hopefully I can share with everybody here on the screen. Let's see, window will be, this went so simple earlier. Here we go. And share. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the option that we've come together with as a committee. Hopefully it comes through graphically. When it zooms in and out, you lose some lines a little bit because it's digital, but basically we go into block C as the midfield logo, Canastota and block lettering in the end zones with a maroon border. Raiders and script logo called the D areas of the track, which would be turf. and with the Script Raider Nation on the sidelines, which we even had a little discussion earlier. Maybe the home side would be We Are Family, but we've got plenty of time to kind of work out some of the, anything that wants to be added or changed. But we kind of came together as this is the option that everybody seemed to like. With the track, it would be a darker red surfacing with gold exchange zones for the relay.
Beautiful.
And then since we will be having turf in each of the D areas, we'll have a new field events area. Can you still see that screen now? Okay.
Yep.
So this will be off the south end of the track, outside of the track, kind of behind the scoreboard where the current long jump, I think it's long jump or pole vault are both there. This will be all new pole vault, long jump, and high jump areas with some shade structures to provide some shade for the athletes out there. So that is the summary of where our design is at now with the committee. I wonder if you guys have any questions on either the turf layout or the field events layout or the process.
Has there been, and again, maybe this isn't the place to ask this, but has there been any thought about eventually putting the scoreboard at the other end of the field?
We haven't discussed that yet, but that could be up for discussion in the future here. I'll defer to Stan on that one. Put you on the spot.
Well, and again, I'm just throwing this, and maybe this isn't the place to do it, but I'm just throwing it out there because one of the other things that people have talked about is, new concession stand with bathrooms that are closer to obviously everything. So, I was wondering whether or not when we're doing all of this, whether or not that's part of the plan. So,
not current. We don't currently have any scope for the scoreboard or for concession stand changes. We have discussed. Go ahead.
Well, just the idea that, although they're, and I knew that they were not within, the scope of, in a sense, the project. But in other words, let's just say within the next 6 years, if that was a possibility. And again, the movement of the scoreboard, new concession stand, bathrooms that are closer, that kind of thing. And again, I guess I'm just looking to the future because I knew it wasn't there now, but, anyway, that's just an idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Deb, just real quick, I think that's an idea for the new engage community committee.
Right. No, but no, and that could well be, Wes. Again, it's the idea that, like, for example, you look at this incredible.
We have to plan for it for sure.
Okay. Because again, you just look at this, this incredible layout and you just don't want to, in a sense, box yourself in.
No. If there's conduit or something that needs to be ran, we have to do it now. Correct.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And would be supportive of that plan if it was something that in the future we did. Many have talked about that quite a bit.
Mr. Martin, you talked about a 12-year warranty. One of the things I understood, and I'm don't think that 12 years was the minimum amount to be aidable.
If we work it out where the turf vendors provide, I believe it's 8 years, and then the remainder is supplemented by the insurance, like a third-party insurance company. It's something that's been worked out, and Tim Bonaparte would know more about it. But it's our standard to have the 12 years. That's something that we've kind of pioneered.
I'm going to go on the record and say whatever it is, it wasn't supposed to be part of an additional insurance to be paying for the warranty on this turf. And Frank and Nick, this has got to be very, very clear in the bid documents about what continues to make this aidable. and it should be the max, not just a minimum.
No, it's the 12 years is beyond the max, what the standard is for turf. I can get you the documentation on it. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I can get you the documentation on the warranty. But it's standard across all the projects that we've done with a turf field. There haven't been any issues.
Wes, do I have my years wrong?
No, I know we talked about this. You're right. There wasn't going to be an additional insurance that was going to be handled by the district by any means.
No, it's covered under the project.
It's got to be covered under the contract. But the 12 years, we have to make sure no matter what, this is fully aidable.
Yeah, I think that the insurance piece is where that's a little bit. It's not through the district's insurance, Bernie.
No,
if I'm not mistaken.
It's completely provided under the project by the contractor. It's a warranty. It's not. Yeah, it's a third-party warranty that the turf company purchases. It's all part of the project. Sorry if I wasn't really clear on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Comments?
I would like to a quick comment. I'm very pleased with the choice of colors for sure. I think it's a very nice layout.
I think we all agree, Wes. And again, the turf team and the committee spent a lot of time going through the options, and I agree. It's a very nice combination, very nice look.
And if you guys could discuss, and we'll discuss them more. Like I said, I just threw this at Bernie tonight. We were talking, and possibly on top, Raider Nation facing us, where the visitor section is. Possibly we are family, or maybe leave it like it is. I mean, we think about this all the time, so it's always new thoughts are coming in our heads. So poor Bernie, every time I get a new thought, I'm like, hey, what about doing this? What about doing that? So, and he's been great working with us. But, ponder that around also. It's just something that the slogan we've had here for a while also. I mean, this looks great like that also. So
I like that. Yeah, I agree. Mr. Mangusi, you joined us tonight.
I'll tell you, working with all these guys, from the architects, with Bernie and the committee with Tom and Stan, I mean, it was fun to do. I mean, when we went on the field visit, we just had a great time, and we just had a ton of questions, and it was like we were looking for a needle in a haystack. We would just little thing apart that we could see, and we want to do our due diligence. When we put a product together like this, we're saying this is what we think is the best, and if you see it, I mean, it looks beautiful on paper. Can you imagine what it's going to actually look like when it's all said and done? I mean, they should start digging up tomorrow. But it's just, it was just a lot of fun doing this, let me tell you. And Wes, we graduated together years ago. The stuff that we used to play on, I mean, it was like playing in the parking lot. This is just beautiful.
All right. And Mr. Tom Condon, I see you on here too. I didn't know if you had any comments.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I've already expressed my gratitude towards Frank and Bernie and Tim. You guys, class act. You guys did a great job. Going through this whole, the turf visits and the vendors and everything. You learn. You really do learn so much, and by no means are we experts or anything like that. But I've been on a lot of different turfs, throughout my time. And like Stan said, they really just kind of seem the same. But then when we actually went and we visited and we went to a couple of different kinds back to back, you could really tell the difference. You really could. And we were all the same consensus. We were all, that, hey, we really like that. This feels good. We like the look of it. We've already hit on with all the work that went through with the graphics and stuff. We felt this one really popped, you know, with the colors. And, you know, when Bernie first sent it out, you know, I just kept looking at it. You know, I had it as my screensaver for a bit. I looked at it before I went to bed. I still look at it a few times a day, you know. So it's something that, you know, we all really liked. We all thought it was really sharp, to be honest with you. And I put it in the email. I think it's the best turf I've ever seen. And like Bob said, that's just on paper. So, you know, I can't wait to, you know, see it when it gets done. And Bob, I'm with you. If we want to start tomorrow, I'm good. You know, I'll bring my shovel and we can get going with it. So, but you know, really appreciate everyone. You know, I appreciate the board and, you know, and all your hard work and getting this done and approved, and you know, all the admin as well. Really excited. You know, it's one of my goals, you know, here was to, you know, get turf, and it's not just for football, for phys ed, for all the sports, you know, belong playing, you know, in the stadium. So just, you know, really pleased at where we're at, and I just can't wait to see it. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we're on schedule, and in fall of 21, you know, we're playing on it, and all this COVID mess is gone and behind us. We're just raring to go.
And Bill, if I could add one more thing, I want to talk a little bit about how exciting actually the high jump area is. So if you guys don't know, the north end of the stadium where it says Raiders, that's where we had one high jump. And as you know, we have a great track with extra lanes. We got to host a lot of exciting stuff here. But the one thing that held us up at times was that high jump, and it was away from all the other jumping areas. So what we came up with, and they gave us the idea is, oh, he's pulling it up. Wait, go away. So moving that from the north end of the stadium, now we're putting it over where the other jumping event, there it is. So where it says high jump, we just had the one. So now we have two of them right there, which is going to help us again to host some of these bigger competitions. Instead of the one runway, we had two long and triple jump pits, but they were on one runway. Now we have two separate ones. And then the pole ball area, which, you know, we did purchase a new pole ball mat, which is exciting. But now the jump, a lot of times your jumpers are the exact same athletes. So before we would have the high jumpers on the north end, and over here, this area is where we have long jump, triple jump, and pole ball. Now everyone can be there to watch the competition. It's all in the one. And plus, like I said, I feel we've added another long jump, triple jump because they're in the same lane, and we've added another high jump. So, you know, when you see that, it's not a limit. We think this is much better over here for everyone, better for spectators, and better for the athletes themselves.
Awesome.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Last thing, you know, the one group of people we're forgetting to thank is the community. You know, we're thanking the board and everybody else. We're stakeholders in this. But if it wasn't for the community, we're not even having this discussion right now. I think a big shout out to the community also for believing in all of this. And, you know, for me personally, I thank you and I appreciate it.
Bill, and with that, if I could, I just want to commend, again, if I could, lastly, commend the district, the board, especially this turf team on the commitment and respecting and kind of engaging with the process to get us to this point so far. And it's just, I think it should be exciting for the community, for the district. You know, a year from now, you know, we're going to see a lot of this in the ground, and that's going to be where it really gets exciting. So, again, thank you for allowing us to be part of it as well.
Thank you. I think we look forward to it. Under budget.
Those are the key words.
So,
I know.
anybody else on this?
Yeah, I just had one quick question, guys, and I apologize because my connectivity is not up to speed with so I don't have the visual in front of me. But just one question I knew that I heard a couple times from the community and things with regards to the track surface and such. This layout, do we still have the same number of lanes and capabilities as far as running surface and such that we did in the past. I know that was one of the things with whether it's a Special Olympics events and things, that there was some concern with changing some of the number of lanes and things like that. Is this all the same as what we've had in the past as far as the track surface goes?
Yeah, Lauren, thanks for bringing that up. Actually, when we had our first initial meeting with all the stakeholders, like I said, we talked about the do's, the don'ts, change this, don't change that. And all stakeholders were adamant, let's not reduce the lanes. That's the one thing that was unique about our track. We want the same exact number of lanes. And so that's not touched at all. Everything, as far as the track itself, will be the same, except for, like I said, the handoff areas, that the colors in there, which I think is really neat. So the lanes are the same.
Okay, perfect. Again, I apologize. I just couldn't see it in front of me, so I just wanted to double check. I know that was a hot topic for a while. So great. Thank you.
Right. No problem.
Anybody else? Well, I want to thank the Turf Committee for being here tonight on a beautiful, warm evening. Away from your families or whatever else you may have to do. Thank you. Thank you for the time that you've put in on this. And again, we look forward to getting an update as this construction continues to go on. And hopefully the bids will come in very favorable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. The next topic we have here is our superintendent is going to discuss our reopening plans.
Okay, well, first of all, I should know better than to put myself on the agenda after something as exciting as the turf conversation. So, but I'll reiterate what's already been said. Turf Committee, Stan, Tom, Bob, Frank, Bernie, everybody's done a fantastic job. It has been a great process, so everybody's excited. So hopefully, if all goes well and we submit our plans, our overall plans for the project to the state next month, then hopefully we'll have a nice new field and a lot of other things as we're getting back to normal, as we're getting back to our normal school situation. I just wanted to give you a couple of updates about what we're doing in preparation for what is certainly, it has a lot of question marks still. We have very little guidance, and it seems like the situation changes from day to day with what our situation is as far as reopening of schools. One thing that happened in the last week was I participated in a statewide meeting offered by the State Education Department. And I can tell you that as part of this process, the State Ed Department is breaking all the schools in the state up into 4 different groups. And they're going around and they're having these reopening meetings where, they're having people talk about different areas of school district operation, like transportation, facilities, curriculum and instruction, all of these different areas. And I will tell you that in participating in it, I had the chance to participate in a subcommittee on transportation, facilities, and nutrition and food service. There is definitely a lot more questions than answers. Some of the things that you're going to hear about in the media are that schools have to have a reopening plan in July. That's an ambitious schedule with a lack of guidance that we have at this point. So knowing that we have a lot of work to do, knowing that this summary document that the State Ed is producing as a result of these regional meetings is going to probably come out, it's not out yet, and we not exactly sure when it's going to come out. We knew that we had to start planning locally and not be caught flat-footed with whatever we're going to end up dealing with in the fall. So in response to that, we've decided to have a district-wide committee who's looking at this question. Actually, just earlier today, we had a pretty large group of people participating, representing the different areas of school district operation, teaching, transportation, facilities, food service, and so on. with the idea that we're going to be holding weekly meetings moving forward. And the meetings are sort of going to fluctuate in that sometimes they're going to be whole group meetings, and sometimes they're going to be, divided into instruction or operation. Sometimes they'll be very detailed to very specific functions within the district operation. But the idea is that everything we do will be in sync, because one thing we've learned is that a decision made in one area could have huge implications on another area's operation. And so everything will be done in sync, so everybody is on the same page. So we're suggesting 5 different layers to our reopening plan. And this is what we've spent some time earlier today, again, going over this process. Phase 1 is really the assessment of our current state and organizing the issues. It's really asking, at this point, we're organizing the questions that have to be answered. We don't really have a lot of answers. I think anybody who tells you, or any school who tells you that they have the answers, is probably a little overconfident, because there's too much that's still unknown at this point. But we're organizing approach to this. Second phase is to start to construct a tentative plan for what reopening would look like if Canastota can do what we want to do. What does that look like? Now, we also all have been around, have seen the last several months, and there's a clear pattern that you try to make plans, but at the 11th hour, oftentimes the state will come in and say, you have to do it this way. So phase 3 would involve sort of retrofitting, so to speak, our plan based on any additional state guidance that I would say is it's inevitable that at some point we're going to have to modify our plan, because there will be some type of specific state requirement that we don't see coming that will end up having to accommodate. Phase 4 is actually implementing the plan, and we say implementing, that actually is not just when students would walk through the door or continue in remote instruction or some combination, whatever it might be. It's actually, from the moment that we say this is what September is going to look like, there's going to be a lot involved with the actual implementation of pulling all these pieces together. And then finally, the last phase, we're going to continuously have to modify our plan. We also know that the plan and the structure that we start the year under may very well change. There's been a lot of indication from different levels of the government that, opening and closing and reopening, a lot of these things will be based on what's happening in a particular region or a particular state. And if you're following the news, you can see that places are in very different places right now. So we're having to construct a plan that incorporates a return to school in the fall, regular type of situation, to a fully remote plan of what would instruction look like if we had to continue in remote ways. How would it look different than what happened over the last several months? What lessons have we learned? How can we get better? What would a hybrid model, some type of face-to-face interaction at school with some element or component of the educational program coming remotely, what would that look like? So as you can see, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this, because there are so many different variations to what we might have to deal with, and we need to be ready to roll with any number of different plans. So that's the work that's happening now. I want to commend our staff members who have participated in the project. They've come with great enthusiasm. They want to put the best program together. I think we've learned a lot from the last 3 months. And so no matter what situation we're in, I think I can assure you that, we're asking the relevant questions. We're playing devil's advocate to different scenarios, all with the intent of just coming up with the best plan for our kids so that they can learn and continue to grow even amidst this chaotic situation. So as far as what's next, again, we are planning on having this anchor group meet every week. As it stands now, every Tuesday at 9, this representative group will be meeting. At times it will be whole group. At times it will be divided, instructional and operational, so that we have an efficient process. Off of this structure will be multiple offshoot meetings relating to grade level or department or specific areas of operation, subgroups. But the anchor group will be meeting every week, and we'll continue to bring all of this relevant information back to that group so that we're all in sync as we move forward. So that's our plan. We'll obviously adjust to whatever curveballs are thrown to us by the state. But I think we're in a good position to be able to work efficiently, ask the relevant questions. We'd like to continue to update the board as we go through the summer on what types of things, plans are in the works. And we'll go from there. So a lot yet to be determined, but we feel like we're in a good position to at least tackle it. Are there any questions on it?
Just a quick comment. Very good, though. I think it's, for what information we have, I think that's probably the best scenario. I think, does it make sense to have somebody, we haven't reorganized yet and we haven't done that. Does it make sense to have somebody from our safety committee, when that gets established, gives you a couple of weeks to get this kind of rolling, but maybe kind of a liaison to kind of keep the board informed about what's going on? Is that a possibility?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some people that are on the safety committee that are involved in those talks.
Okay.
Several of them, so that's a good thing.
I have received many, so that people stop bombarding me with this. A lot of the crazy plans that have come out of other states so far, seems like a lot of the community people do not want those. It seems like there's an awful lot of things going in that basically is going to leave very little time for instruction. And I know that we're going to follow the lack of guidance or the best practices that we can here, but the people are very, very concerned about what reopening looks like and how does it look, and how much does it occupy the learning space. So,
and we're taking, those are all good points. And I think part of this process that we talked about quite a bit today was, we're going to be, throughout this process, we're going to be soliciting more feedback from families, because we know that there's the other end of it when we're looking at remote instruction, for example. That's going to have impacts on families. So that's going to weigh heavily into the decision making. And also to your point, some states have just moved in a uniform fashion and said, like, for example, an alternating week. I can't remember what school it was or what state it was, but they were going to school every other week. And so, to give you an example of what we talked about and we'll continue to talk about, we're taking different possibilities, even though we all at this point probably have things that we'd lean towards. But to do the process justice, we're putting out all of these different scenarios and coming up with pros and cons. What are the things we like? What are the things we're concerned with? Connect all the dots to all the different areas of operation, so that, maybe the instructional people like certain things, but then, Nick Campbell is going to say, wait a second, that's impossible because of X, Y, and Z on the facility side, and vice versa. So we're sort of in a weird situation where we don't want to be dictated to that degree, but you can see where some states, at least if they've been told, okay, you're going to school every other week, then we can at least structure a more specific plan. We don't have that structure. The state, I don't think anywhere close to giving us that type of specific set of instructions. So we'll have, it's forcing us to have to examine a lot of different models. So to put people's concerns, at least to let people know that we're looking at it. We're looking at all of it. We're looking at what are the pros and cons of alternate day, alternate week, AM, PM. There's all different types of scenarios. We want to be sure that whatever we do, we can say we fully vetted the whole, that whole possibility, and should have good answers to why it was or wasn't viable for us.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I know you know this, and we've talked about this. We're going to do all of this with a potential budget cut coming. The other thing is concerning is we may have the best plan in the neighborhood. We may have the best plan in central New York, which is great, which means that people are going to flock here. Or if we have the worst one, people will flock away from us and they go somewhere else. So I recognize that it's a very delicate balance that we need to make sure we maintain here. All right, anybody else?
I mean, again, I know that I'm sure that this has been thought of and hashed over, et cetera. My discussions with, again, particularly with parents and working parents, and the fact that, how do they manage these things? And, I just hope that we can come up with a plan whereby that we can get people back to work, the economy can come back, and we can get kids back to school. Because if we can't do that, and obviously it's just not Canastota, it's everybody, but if we can't do that, we aren't serving our community well. And I guess, that is such a great challenge as far as I'm concerned. And as a parent, working parents, trying to cope and basically do all this remote at the same time. And again, it's one thing if parents are home, but again, they may be managing jobs at the same time. They're managing their own kids' education. But if they're back to work, then what happens? In other words,
well, at some point they have to give us the rules, because we've been told to be creative, and that sounds great. And we can be very creative as a district, but if that is pulled out from under us at the 11th hour because a whole new set of rules are put in at the 11th hour, that's what trips us up. So we're really just hoping that we get some rules, whether we like them, don't like them, good, bad, or somewhere in between. Just tell us what we're dealing with. Same thing with, as Bill alluded to, with the budget. We need to know at some point, what is our budget? Is it being altered? So we can plan accordingly. So that's, we have to plan internally, and then we have to be flexible in that we know that, we're going to be throwing 11th hour curveballs if pattern holds in dealing with the state, unfortunately.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on this, which is probably going to occupy the rest of our careers here? All right. Well, I'm going to move on to new business. Number one, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the schools, the board does hereby approve the 2020-21 pre-K classroom lease agreement with Madison County BOCES. May I have a motion, please?
So move.
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Tracy, I gotta hear you tonight, Trace. Thank you. And Lauren?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Opposed? Carried. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the 2020-21 vehicle lease agreement with Madison County BOCES. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the uniform guidance procurement policy and procedures. I have a motion. Second, please.
Second.
Wes. Any discussion?
Bill, can you just clarify? I wasn't sure exactly what this one was. Can you just clarify this one for me quickly?
Well, I'm gonna look to.
I can do that. Yeah, our auditors are in here, Dr. Angelo, this week, and they sent some planning memos, and this needed to be approved. It was the only thing that was written on our comments last year was part of our corrective action plan that we sent to the state, and this is getting approved for that reason.
It just tightens up.
Our single audit, it's our federal funds, just our policies of segregation of duties and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Good enough. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 4, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of school, the board does hereby approve the following donations made to the 2020 graduating class. Canastota Teachers Associations for $395 and the Canastota Alumni Association for $100. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Discussion. There you go. Yeah,
Thank you.
it was very nice. I'm assuming some of those are for the beautiful signs. Is that in addition to
I think that's what it
the
was.
senior
Right?
signs? Nick, Sean?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that was for the sign, the senior sign that are in front of the school.
Which is wonderful. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the MOU between the district and the Canastota Administrators Association, CAA, regarding a 4-day work week in the months of July and August 2020. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second, please. If there's any discussion on this, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby amend Superintendent Sean Bassetta's employment agreement through June 30th, 2023. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 7, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept the results of the June 16, 2020 budget and trustee vote. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I think I had a second in there. Nick, you good? Okay. Discussion. One of the things I asked Nick to talk about is kind of what it cost us in addition to what a normal vote would cost us based on the methods that was dictated by the governor's office.
Yeah, so in a regular budget year, it would probably cost between $3,000 and $4,000 to put the budget on and get the vote going. And this year, because of the additional printing that we had to do for envelopes, due to the additional postage that we had to send out, not only to the homes, but the return address back to us, that cost between $12,000 and $13,000 roughly. So you can see that's a very huge increase. And it just wasn't this school district, it was every school district across New York State.
Any other questions on that?
So in other words, in the past, Nick, when we've had like 2 and we've had to hire people, I thought people that have worked the polls, they're hired, aren't they, in the past?
Yep.
So all of that came between 3 and 4
Yes.
in the past?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, there's a ton of costs associated with this. I can get a breakdown for you for the future, but we're talking the legal, put it in the paper, you're talking the time that if I spend, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Right, but again, I mean, some of it obviously is stuff that we would have to do regardless. Well, but I mean, this year, you're talking, what, 3-4 times as much, right?
Yes.
Is that feasible at all?
No.
I think we should send a note to them. Or to Albany. All right. Any other questions or discussions on this? Thank you for all that came out and voted. I did make one comment here. I did talk to Nick and Sean. If by chance we ever have to do another mass voting like that and or absentee votes, suggestion is we make sure that all the propositions and all of the trustee votes are all on one page, on the front page.
Thank you.
So, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, Bill, that whole business, for example, about people who abstained, those are people, for example, who never flipped the ballot over?
Well, that's my, I guess that's my observation, and anybody else can have that same thing. We had, I'm going to say, there was almost 1,700 votes cast, maybe a little bit less than that. 755 did not vote for either of the trustees. I think that's a high percentage that maybe they didn't turn it over.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't remember the ballot because I actually cast my ballot and sent it in. But I don't remember if we had big letters that said over or anything like that. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those learning curves of something like that. It's just something to put in the archives if we ever have to do it again.
Yeah, when we received the proof was all one page, and they must have printed it. They must have, BOCES did our printing for us because we didn't have the capability of doing that in that quick of a time. So we got the proof from it, but it went in as two-sided.
All right, I asked for a vote. Are we all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I already got it. I think we did that.
Oh, thank you. We carry. All right. Resolve upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the bus bond resolution. May I have a motion?
So moved.
It's got to be roll call, sir.
Right, that's correct. So I need a second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this? All right. Mr. Crosby.
Yes.
Mr. Hood.
Yes.
Mrs. New.
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Carried unanimously. Number 9, resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools that we extend the authority of the current board president, Bill Haddad, and the vice president, Lauren Crosby, until the reorganizational meeting on July 7th, 2020. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 10, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the schools, the board does hereby approve the following reserve resolutions. A, transferring capital reserve funds. B, transferring unemployment insurance reserve funds. C, transferring retirement contribution reserve funds. D, transferring retirement contribution reserve funds. So the first one was NY, the ERS, and the second one is TRS funds. E, transfer in workers' compensation reserve funds. F, expenditure of monies from the tax cert reserve funds. G, expenditures of money from the workers' compensation reserve fund. Can I have
So
a motion?
moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
discussion.
Yeah, I have just a pretty general understanding of this stuff. I don't know, Nick, if it made sense for anybody listening in or watching this, if you could just give a quick recap of a 30,000 foot view of what this means, why we're shifting these funds around.
I'm glad you asked. I was surprised nobody did. This is the stuff that I get to talk about for once. So there's two pieces here. What happens is in 2017, the state passed a law stating that if you're going to put money into reserves or expect money out of there, that you had to have a board resolution for it. So I wanted to wait till we got closer towards the end of the year. The first five, when we're talking about transferring, in the event that there's a surplus at the end of the year, the options to put into these reserve funds needed to be approved. That's what that's for. The next two for expenditure is a little bit different, where we already have money in the reserves, and that gives us the option to pay from those reserves to general fund expenditures. If that makes sense in layman's terms, it probably doesn't, but that's the best that I can explain. Was that 100,000 foot view, Lauren?
That was good enough for me. I thought I had a general understanding, but every time we have some of these, I always think that, it's just good to have a second couple words to throw out there when people might not understand what this is about. That's all.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, discussion on this? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Personnel recommendations. All appointments are pending clearances on fingerprinting. Resignations and retirements. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of school, the board does hereby accept Tamara Patney's letter of intent to retire as superintendent secretary effective at the end of the business day on July 29th, 2021. I have a motion.
So moved with regrets.
Second with regrets.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Sue Merrill's letter of intent to retire as the district treasurer effective at the end of the business day on July 29, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved with regrets.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Patricia Pluff's letter of retirement effective at the end of the business day on June 11th, 2020. I need a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. Oh, you got a second, Nick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Permanent appointments. Resolved upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Maria Campbell as office assistant 2 with a 12-month position at $18.83 an hour assigned to the transportation department effective July 13th, 2020 with a 1-year probationary period. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Recommendation of superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Cecilia Retrosi as teacher on special assignment to the 11th marching coach for the 2020-21 school year.
So moved.
Second, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Substitute appointments. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Linda George as a substitute typist at $14.72 an hour, effective June 24th, 2020. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Patricia Pluff as a substitute food service helper at $12.31 per hour, effective July 1st, 2020. I have a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Future dates. So Thursday, June 25th is the CW6 Canastota Senior Celebration. Starts at 7:30 and it will be streaming on cnycentral.com or WSTQ-HD channel 13 on Spectrum TV or over-the-air channels analog 14, UHF digital 14, and probably some other digital channel 3.2. So that is our Thursday night celebration. Friday night, we'll have a graduation ceremony that will be streamed off our website. That'll be at 7 o'clock with the rain date of. And our reorganizational meeting will be on July 6th, 2020 at 6:30. We're going to change that. All right. Any other things that I missed from anybody? What's coming up here in the next couple weeks? Anything else? All right. I'd like to have a motion to go into executive sessions for the purposes of discussion contractual
Bill, hang on.
project.
Is that, you said July 6th, a Monday?
I'm sorry, July 7th. July 7th. Did I say 6th?
Yeah.
July 7th at 6:30.
All right, July 7th at 6:30. Now, okay, is that the one that sometimes is like extra long, or that we do reorg before we do a first, I don't know.
It is the reorg meeting.
Right, but do we do the reorg meeting before we do regular business, if you know what I mean? Isn't that what we've done in the past?
You could have a regular meeting, depending on what we have on the calendar. There's probably a good chance that we're going to have things with the reopening and with, several things happening. But we start with the reorg
Okay.
at the beginning.
Is the question about do we need to start early or?
Yeah, I thought sometimes we started early, but maybe it's just, maybe, I don't know, because it seems like there was a lot to do or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Debbie, I think in the past, it's just been based on whatever we had kind of in the agenda at the pipeline, depending on how it fell, that sometimes we push a little early to get the reorg stuff kind of out of the way. But then sometimes I think it was a normal meeting because the agenda wasn't so jam-packed. I think it just kind of depended on what the agenda looked like. At least that's my recall.
I'll tell you what, we'll leave it officially as it's July 7th and the time to be announced.
All right.
Based on how much wonderful things our superintendent and our administration sends to us to get done.
It's going to be a busy summer. There's a lot going on. So maybe you do want to start it earlier.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the summer is going to be more meetings than normal, but that's okay. All right, so I am holding for a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're going to go to executive session for a meeting with our attorney. So we're going to head over to the other thing. I don't anticipate any business happening after that, other than the fact that we're going to adjourn the regular part of the meeting. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Well, it looks like Chris is on, right? He's on.
Well, he has to leave it on because it has to show that screen that.
Well, we're back from executive session. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Take
Night,
care.
everybody.